Hello, everyone. Welcome in.
I
This is Save the Planet podcast with Jack and Keith. I'm Keith.
I'm Jack.
We didn't really start our usual way that we've been starting with Stand Tall, which is a song against bullying, and that's important too. We just kind of wanted to slow roll, get us into it, because we're actually doing kind of a special episode this time around. Uh, Recent events have occurred in my life in particular that has kind of rocked me in a way, and I think it's important, especially during the holidays at this time, to really reinforce how important life is. Because we can get in our heads and we can get stressed out by so much stuff that's going on, and get stressed out by the holidays, family time, trying to get everything and anything done possible. But we got to just remember, like, take a breath, stay calm, and stay cool. And that's what we're here to do today. It's kind of going to be a deeper episode, but I also hope that this is still kind of a good, helpful episode and an enjoyable episode as well.
Definitely the right time of year because holidays can be very stressful uh, for people. Whether you're a parent stressing about Christmas or whatever it might be. It's holidays are just it's been statistically proven that holidays are like the most stressful time of the year.
And it doesn't help because where the seasons have changed now, it's officially deep into the fall. The closer you get to Christmas, the colder it gets, and by the time it's Christmas, it's finally winter, and then seasonal depression hits, and it it can just get so bad for so many people at the time. So whenever we call this Save the Planet, we're not always those goofballs that just want to get on here and mess around and whatnot. We actually do want to help in some way. That's why at the end of every show we have an advice column, just a quick thing that I look up, and we just give advice to whoever may need it. And this episode in particular too, I'm trying to be as vague with it as possible because there's still. Have you ever been through that situation where there still might not be 100% things known about things that are public, but you kind of know what happened?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
You gotta tread lightly on stuff like that.
right, right. So, a buddy of mine um, is no longer here, and it makes me sad. A couple weeks ago, when we did the episode with Jedi, it was actually during that week, and I put a special little video at the beginning of the show to highlight that and go over that. And maybe I spoke a little too much then and there, but from what I've and again vague, but what I've heard, I just want to reiterate again: is just take care of yourself, and it's very important.
Yeah, for sure. And and the thing is, and this kind of goes back to our last episode is you can't really do things alone a lot of
No,
times. And most of the time doing it alone will cause more problems, and you'll get deeper into your own head, and sometimes that's not the place you want to be. uh,
right.
you gotta lean on people sometimes, and sometimes people can be the best thing to help you through a lot. uh, a lot of people like to say, well, I'd rather take care of it myself and handle it myself, but it's not always the case,
But yes, but when is handling it yourself doing more to your mental this well be or unwell being? I don't know. Uh, when is that doing too much for your mental sanity to where it's going to push you over the edge? Because yeah, it's good to take care of things when you can, but if you're not in the right headspace, it's nearly impossible.
hmm
I
I
know.
mean, if you're in the a negative headspace and you're by yourself and there's nobody to help try to pull you out of that, then that's a downward spiral into a darkness that nobody needs to be in.
Right, especially at a time where it's supposed to be like a cheery time, the bright lights, the music, depending on what songs you listen to, obviously. This just the overall vibe is supposed to be cheer and joy or whatnot, and it can really get people down and sad, especially anymore now where you know people have to worry about prices going up more than ever before, which is crazy because I feel like every time we get on, every year that we've done the Save the Planet since 2019, it just seems like they've just continued to get more and more, and there's been no reprieve from that. And then just how society works in general, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. It's just human nature to just kind of, especially now, to lock down and kind of try to isolate, especially where it's so easy to isolate yourself now anyways. I think it
Yeah.
showed I think it showed very well in 2020 exactly how I know that was different circumstances, don't get me wrong, but I think it shows just how easily we can just go away from the world. And while at the time we didn't know and things could have been better here, there, and the other way, we didn't know at the time. So at times it made sense that we did, but how much we learned afterwards of how that's just kind of a dangerous thing. It's very, very telling.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as like holiday stresses, me and Donna are the sole income, and stressing about being able to cover all the kids for Christmas. That's a stressful thing. Me being a parent of kids from a divorce, knowing that there's every other year, that I have to go without my children on Christmas Day, um, adds stress. It'll stress you out and it'll put you into a depression, knowing here's my kids and can't even be with them on Christmas. So it's the holidays really makes it rough on a lot of people, and that's just the aspect as a dad. There's so many different examples of what the holidays will do. As far as people that live away from their family, they can't make it back home for the holidays. That causes a lot of stress and depression. And that's like I said earlier. That's when it's time to at least find somebody. Don't necessarily have to be family, but just somebody you can talk to, somebody that can help you get through that kind of stuff.
Right. And from my perspective there, I don't have kids. I don't. I My family is still how it's always been to me. Is my dad and whatnot on my dad's side. That has only changed very minimally for like the last 10 years or so since my grandfather passed away. But on my mom's side, like the dynamic has completely changed after losing her, and then my grandfather, her dad passed away last year. I'm in his house now, so that brings a whole new thing into it. So it's not just how is it going or for dad. It's also can be just like me, a single dude, just trying to live and trying to get through. Like everyone's has their own stresses. Have Everyone has their own difficulties in life, and especially right now more than ever, the holidays can be very difficult, especially if you're so used to how things work. Because I remember Christmas, I would always go. It would always be I would go to my dad's for Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, myself, my mom, my grandmother, her sister, and her son, and then my grandfather would come over to the house, and we would have our Christmas there, and it was fun. It was great. I loved it. But here, just in the last 4 years, that has whittled down to my grandma and I might give each other Christmas cards, maybe, and
Right.
then my aunt is just so sick, as I mentioned last week. Not sick mentally, but sick physically, that she has to stay out back with her son. My grandfather and my mom are gone. And so that dynamic has completely changed to where it's shifted more so now to the 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 dad side of the thing. And even on my dad's side, things are changing there. So from a person's perspective like that, just change can absolutely change someone's change can change. Yeah, no kidding. But change can definitely warp someone's mindset because you get so used to something for your entire life, and then with just in a blink of an eye, everything's different. It's so weird, and that's why it's important to be around the people that you love the most and people that care about you the most. I mean,
Right.
sometimes we mentioned on the after show last night. Spoilers for anybody that's going to listen to the after show. But we mentioned to the after show last week, excuse me, that we we may not 100% agree with the advice per se that I gave last week in terms of how do I put it? It's important to be with family, but it's important more than anything to take care of yourself. But
Yep.
but also like if you need that time away, take that time away. Just don't forget that they're there for you, even if you don't think they are. And if you don't, if you're 100% like for sure saying no, they're not, then reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
And if it gets
And
ever
nowadays with social media and all that, it's easier than ever nowadays to just reach out to somebody.
right, and it's just it's so much easier to do that, but that's just looking at it from like a very blanket way. Sometimes even reaching out is hard. We
Right.
have so many chances to reach out, but I remember a few weeks ago I was having kind of like a mental break, just the lost key story, like it, at the time and overall that story was actually ended up being kind of funny. But in the
Yeah.
moment, as all that stuff was happening and I had lost my key and whatnot, I had that feeling of being very alone and very to myself, and I didn't know what to do. And I was really having a moment there. And if it wasn't for my coworkers that consider me a good person and a good friend being there to consult me whenever I need it, I don't know what I would have done, honestly. I that because that was just kind of like a really aggravating, sad moment for me.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You have those moments that can cause you to break or snap. Um, and most of the time, majority of the time, you're not going to pull yourself out of that by yourself.
Right.
You're gonna need some help.
You just got to remember that even if you don't think there are, and if you think you are alone, you're not alone.
No, even though it might be somebody you either least expect or somebody that you didn't even really want the help from. It's there's still somebody there.
And if it gets that bad, go to a professional. Don't be afraid to go
Yeah.
to a doctor. That's what they're there to do to help you no matter what. And you're not crazy and
Yes.
you're not like completely sick for going there. Well, I mean, you're not sick in one way, but you have a sickness, if that makes sense, that you need to take care of and they can help you with that.
Definitely.
I, I've never went through something like that in particular. I've had people like be depressed too, and I've dealt with my own personal demons. I've said them here on the show multiple times too. We've talked about them. We've went through the hell as well. I I just know that this one really, when I lost my friend, it really hit me hard because like my mom I knew was sick, but she was my mom and I loved her, but I kind of saw it coming, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because I
Yep.
remember talking about it. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on the show, but like she left our house for the last time in January of 2021, and I just remember at that time feeling like, oh, something's weird here. This time doesn't feel right. Something feels
Mm.
very off about this time. 6 months later, she was gone.
Right.
Then my grandfather, he had been sick for the last few years, ever since mom passed away. Really, he just got lost with Alzheimer's, finally started to kick in and just getting weaker. And then that's not what ended up getting him. It was he got really sick with pneumonia. But it was eventually going to anyways. And
But
so
things like that you see coming.
yeah, that's my point. There was time to kind of prepare yourself that the end may not be near, the end is here, and you get yourself ready for that inevitability. This one was
Yes.
just so blindsiding. I ended up not going into the house that day because I was going to go in and try to get some stuff done, and I just remember shutting down. I stayed in my car for like a good hour or so, just sitting there seeing if maybe my dad could come up, but he got a little busy at the time. That's not his fault. Things happen. I just
Right.
and I knew I just needed to not be alone, so I went to my grandma's and I stayed there. And I just remember constantly like being on the phone, like just talking, trying to keep in touch with people during that time because like the things that I did wrong, if there is a thing you can do wrong, is not reach out. Whenever mom passed away, and to a lesser extent, Pawpaw, I kind of kept to myself as much. I don't remember so much how I did last year. Last year was very weird. I and other things with me here recently has been helping too. You know, I talked about my ADHD that I have now that I actually have diagnosed. I have that on the mend when it comes to having meds and stuff to help. So this time round, it hit worse because I didn't see it coming, but I also took better steps to make sure that it didn't affect me as bad.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
It's like as far as like my own personal experience with something like that. I of course, I'm 40 years old. It's happened more than once, unfortunately. But most recently, and I'm sure you remember this one, was one of my own crew members of the club. Um, he went by the club name Shenanigans. Um, he was a guy that he battled his demons. He battled on and off with depression, and he would come to plenty of us for the. I think he was with us in the club for a couple years, but we'd all talk to him. We'd all try to be there for him as much as we could, and he moved down to North Carolina, so we didn't really get as much contact with him. And then next thing you know, this I got up one morning and got a message from one of our other club members, Wicked, who was really good friends with him. She was actually the one who brought him in, and let us know that he wasn't with us anymore. They he decided to take his own life, and they found him in the woods somewhere in North Carolina, and some hunters found him. But that's something that's a like you said, it's something you didn't see coming, and it's harder when you're not prepared for it
Yeah.
because it catches you off guard. Um, this guy, even though he had his battles with his demons and his depression and stuff, you get around this guy, he was one of the funniest, like craziest, wildest guys. That's why we called him Shenanigans. He
Yeah.
was always up to something crazy. So to think that eventually he got to that breaking point, makes you a little nervous about everybody.
Yeah, because you truly don't know.
Yeah,
Like we talk and people out there will get an idea of who we are in particular, but once these mics go off and once these cameras go off, they don't really know us. They don't know what's
yeah,
going on. Hell, in that sense, I don't know what's going on right directly after we get done talking, and you don't know what's going on with me after we get done.
right.
You really don't know. Now we communicate. That's a good thing with us. We do communicate and we check on each other and everything. But
Hmm.
in the moment, you never know when someone might just hit a breaking point. Maybe down the line there's two people talking and then all of a sudden they get a call that ends the conversation and the other person gets a call and it's just a really bad time and who knows what happens after that, you know?
Yeah. And the thing is, and it's not like this all the time. It's not even like this majority of the time. But
Right.
there was always that saying that I grew up people telling me about because at a young age a friend of mine from school had committed suicide. And the thing is, most of the time with suicides, it's people you would never even know they ever even thought of something like that.
Right.
That. there are people that are suicidal that talk about it all the time and eventually do it, but most of the time it's the ones that never said a word. It's
That
just out of nowhere, boom.
we all deal with depression, I think, in my opinion. I think we all deal with it in some
Oh yeah,
form of capacity. He definitely had that. I just didn't really, I guess, understand how much in that sense. And he's already said like, well, I just want to get out of West Virginia, because there's not a lot, because people are leaving here. It's just a
yeah.
fact. Look at data and whatnot. But people are leaving here, and he just wanted to get around and see what he could do in a new area, at a new job, in a new place. And it's like, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But I then start wondering how much of the like distance. It's not. I'm not going to. I shouldn't. I'm not. You know what? I'm not going to go any further into speculation because, especially in a situation like that, it's not good to talk or speculate or anything. It's just that brain that's just like, I guess, trying to find answers where you'll never find them.
And that's the worst part is the people that get left behind uh, to try to put the puzzle together to figure out why. Um, but like with people moving away, that can be a double edged sword. Moving off to a new area can be almost like a rebirth.
Yeah.
You get that fresh start. You get to start over. Make new choices. But also at the same time, that's a very scary situation to be in if you're going into an area where you know nobody.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. I couldn't imagine because I'm so I'm so entwined with my Appalachian roots and being here in West Virginia now. There's definitely been points where I hated it here. Like whenever my mom passed away, this is the last place I wanted to be. I hated this state. I hated everything about it. Now
yeah.
I'm more seeing how important it is for me to at least be here to stay here. Not only just because I have a house and everything, I kind of got life getting in order. I'm fixing it myself there, but just seeing how difficult it might just be completely on my own is very telling. Now, I do wish I would personally get out and do more outside of the state and whatnot. But in terms of like, unless I had to for work, I don't know if I could do it. And I don't know how I'd react. And I don't even want to think about how I'd react to that. It and again, it's the like you said, the people that gets left behind putting the puzzle piece together. But I think the whole point is that there is no puzzle to put together.
Yeah.
That I mean, you can try, but how much time are you going to waste, or not waste? How much time are you going to take putting a puzzle together that really has no answer that means anything at that point?
A puzzle you'll never complete.
Right. Right, because the only person really at the moment that knew why they were doing it, no matter who it is the is like in that sense shenanigans or whatnot. It's whoever, you know.
Yeah. And as far as like personally with me with the moving away thing, um, you know, me as a parent, I can't do that anyway. That's just not an
Right? Yeah.
option unless some miracle happens that my kids get to go with me. Then I'm not going anywhere. But back when I was younger, when I was still married, my ex-wife came up with this idea to move away to Wyoming,
Really.
and we almost, I mean, we was right there on pulling the trigger. Like I was even preparing my job for the idea of it, preparing my customers that I was going to be leaving, and then last minute we changed our mind, and I'm glad we did because the whole time in my brain I was freaking out. I was going over there with my wife and kids, but I was leaving behind my dad, my mom, my grandparents. Well, my grandmother, she was the only one still alive.
Hmm.
And I even told my ex-wife at the time, I said, I can't, I really don't think I can do this,
I
because, you got to have all kinds of support,
yeah.
not just from a wife at the time, but, it's good to be able to drive down the road and see your dad, or go talk to your mom or
Oh yeah.
whatever.
if there's anything about life that can be taught from us that's been known for a long time, is that life is full of balance.
Yes.
It's literally yin
That's
and
what I was
yang.
gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say you gotta have that. You gotta have that good balance
Yeah, it's that
of
yin and yang, man.
yeah. You gotta have these people you can call on, but also you gotta be able to hang out to yourself and be able to not go crazy.
Right.
Uh, but you gotta have that balance. You can't do too much of either one of them.
Right.
If you're around people too much, then when you do, and you will, there will be a moment you end up alone. And if you're used to spending the majority of your life around people, that's going to drive you insane. You know,
100%.
you'll slip into a very bad depression because you're used to being around people, and then all of a sudden you're not.
And that's the
So yeah, you,
moments
you got to have that balance.
and that's the moments where you kind of have to try to ease yourself into that. Like if you're going to be by yourself, you really need to if you're going to be by yourself and you're going to be you and you're used to being around so many people, you kind of have to ease yourself into being alone because as
Yeah,
soon as you're alone, that's going to do something in your brain chemistry that just messes you all up. And the other way
yeah,
around, if you're being more to yourself than ever, but still get some contact, and then all of a sudden you're around thousands upon thousands of people, you are going to be so overcome with anxiety and whatnot that you are going to want to run to the nearest corner and hope that no one in it.
right.
I again,
Well, it's like that's like perfect example of as far as like the most depressed ever was in my life. Um, it was I spent years with the same person, married, had kids, and out of nowhere, like one week I'm the best husband ever, the next week I'm not happy anymore. We're getting a divorce, and I had to move out. I was on my own. Um, had to go a week at a time without my kids. Never went even a day without them before that. And to be pushed into a home, for weeks at a time by myself, um, felt more like a prison.
yeah, and it can.
Nobody around. Yeah, you're used to spending so many years having somebody there with you, having kids, having a wife, and all this stuff, and then everything's gone. And that was a very very dark period in my life. And I tell this story a lot, especially around club members. um, that was when I was introduced to Mountain Arts Democracy, and I joined up with them and found this group of people covering at that time several states. You remember back then there was a chapter in damn near like 8 states.
Oh yeah, they were
Um,
everywhere.
but yeah, it was just a group of people that all kind of had the same kind of ideas like me. That I could, I was sitting in my house by myself, that I could just pick up my phone and message one of them and just engage in a conversation, and it made me feel not as alone anymore. Um, so that's a perfect example of finding that balance. You know,
Yeah, yeah. You find your people that make you comfortable, that make you feel safe, and that make you feel like you belong there, and you work with that.
and that's when I met your crazy.
Hey, you know, gotta start. You gotta start somewhere. You gotta, Listen, when I was in Mad, I have a different mindset now even than back then, and that was like what 6 or 7 8 years ago at this point. But even
Right,
like from 3 months ago, I feel like I have a completely different mindset. And the way I see it is, I want to associate in groups like that, but I can't be part of like a group. You know what I mean?
right.
I want to be like someone that comes in and out, but I can't put my time into it because I feel like, especially now with my job and what I'm trying to do with this podcast, with outside stuff, I can't be in big groups or I can't be in a select like community outreach type group or community like artist group like that is without like needing to have time for me here and there.
Right.
and I feel
Yeah.
like my priorities would just be mixed and maxed everywhere. So it's better for me to not be in a MAD, but also associate with MAD. Which again, by the way, this podcast is endorsed by Mountain Artist Democracy, and we appreciate that so much. Don't mean to put that out there during an episode like this, but the reason why I do is because I want to mention one thing that I love that Matt has been doing for years now, and it's MadFest. Because every year MadFest is for mental health awareness, and that's important.
Yeah.
Skinner, we've had him on the show multiple times. My uncle Sean, he's had huge problems with mental health, and
Yes.
he's talked about that story where he almost killed himself too. Like he had the gun and
Yeah.
he was going to do it, but he made calls and he was able to get himself out of that dark place. And so the thing about Mad that I love is that even if there's some things I don't agree with in total in certain ways, and if even if there's like that part of me that can't really sit still anymore and has to like just be like a supporter more than an actual member. There's one thing I
Right.
always love that makes me come back at least once a year or several different times and always will have me part of it in some way. And that's the fact that this group of artists love to help people in need, especially when it comes to mental health. And MadFest is a huge example of that in the summer when just a bunch of bands want to come together and just perform for everyone and perform virtually for free. I mean, you don't pay to go to that park or go to wherever MadFest might be happening. The only thing you pay for is just like food vendors and some of the stuff that some of the other type of vendors might have there. That's the only thing you're paying for. You get to watch these and they're local bands too.
And as far as like with Mountain Arts Democracy, that's the thing. Like so when I joined, I was alone and I was in a bad spot. Now here we are, 8 years later. I'm engaged. You know, my kids and stuff. We've all kind of fell into this routine, and so now I have that. I have to balance that whole mad and personal life thing.
Right.
Um, but it's actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. Um, but also, I guess it kind of helps out that all my friends are Mad members,
That's true.
or were Mad members. But it's a good balance, and I don't see me going anywhere anytime soon. Um, but yeah, that's the thing with Mad is the mental health thing was one of the things that made me join because MadFest when I joined wasn't even it didn't exist at the time.
Right.
It was a thought inside Skinner's head that he had talked about since I met him. It was a dream that he wanted to bring to fruition,
Yeah, he
and
always
now
wanted
to
to do
know
it.
that yeah, and now to know what we just had our fifth one, and partnering with the National Foundation for Suicide Prevention, uh, it, it's a really cool thing to do. But also with the club and they're helping the community with toy drives and canned food drives. They just did one of those. Just that's one of the things that keeps me hanging around with Matt is helping the community because that leads back to mental health. You know, doing these food drives, you're helping people that are in a depression, people that are scared, that they can't feed their families, and they here we are collecting food to help these people be able to put food on the table, or giving toys to kids whose parents can't afford to lavish them with gifts because it get like we said earlier in the podcast, it gets harder and harder every year to be able to do that. So yeah, that kind of ties in with the mental health is being able to help people in ways like that because it does help reduce that stress, which anybody knows if you're stressing about anything, anybody pops up to be able to help you, just like even take a little bit of that stress off, it goes a long way.
You mentioned the stuff with pricing and everything going up. Everyone's just trying to help the ways they can when they can with whatever they can to help people actually have gifts and stuff, or even food at that matter. Food was huge, especially with the government shutdown that just recently, as in recently at this point, probably like 3 weeks ago now, just ended. But there's still people in need, and that makes the holidays a really difficult time. And just like we've mentioned multiple times, mental health continues to just decline. It keeps on getting worse. I wanted to pull up some stats here just to give an idea of just where things are and why we're doing this episode, to try to give some just to help people have a serious discussion, have a serious talk about mental health, and just help people through some difficult times. So I pulled up the psychiatry.org article from the American Psychiatric Association website. This is Americans, are more anxious than last year about the upcoming holidays. Healthcare and the economy are also major concerns. This was written on November 18th, so this is still, even when this comes out, this is still relatively recent. This was only a few weeks ago. And I'm not going to go through the whole article. It's not a long article, to be fair. I probably do have highlights. The majority highlights I'm going to mention are in the article, but there's still a little more to give some more context. But there is more anxiety about the holidays this year. In particular, 1 in 5 adults say that the holidays have negative impact on their mental health. However, compared to last year, though, and in other more recent years, probably especially due to COVID and that waning off finally in people's minds, more adults are saying that the holidays have a positive impact. And we mentioned that earlier, that it's supposed to be that like cheery time, but still 1 in 5 adults still say that the holidays have a negative impact on their mental health. That's bad. And the worst part is, it seems like it's affecting younger people too. It's affecting younger people more than older. Stress-wise, 49% of 18 to 34-year-olds deal with this stress during the holidays, compared to about 27% as of people 65 or older. Now, I wonder, too, if that has to do with the fact that whenever you're older, your cares kind of, start waning, while as you're younger, you do have more and more responsibility that you take on. But still, at the same time, being so young and getting that stressed out, regardless of your age, or regardless of what it might be, or whatever your mindset might be going in or out, that's not good.
No.
And I want to point out one more thing. This is a direct quote, a direct thing that comes from the website. Among the holiday-related concerns identified, nearly half of adults, about 48%, said they are worried about missing someone over grief. 46% said they are worried about affording or finding holiday gifts. Nearly 1 in 3 adults are worried about dealing with challenging family dynamics or being alone. So it's literally a third of people are dealing with this loneliness pandemic. And I think it's fair to call it a pandemic, wouldn't you say, with those numbers?
Oh yeah. And I mean, I feel like this year is more stressful, like personally on my end.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just because, as you know, we got had to get a new vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
and so now we got car payments, which I've never had to do, and well, I ain't had to do that in like a decade. So right before the holidays, have to pick up a car payment, and actually this year, with Donna's son moving back in with us, adding an extra kid.
Yeah.
So there's four kids you got to get presents for, and stuff like that. So for me, I guess I fit more into that group that's stressing about the affordability.
Right. I get that. And they go more into the article too. I mentioned also that just in my highlights that the economy and healthcare were issues that people deal with. That's more in the article too. You can read more about the stats and stuff there. But yeah, I consider myself lucky that some of these things I don't stress about right now. But the loneliness thing I have, in fact, I still do at time to time, and the grief one subsided. I'm dealing with my friend since it's so recent, but by the time the holidays come around, it will still hurt. But like it's I feel like that's a little different than losing like a parent
Yeah.
or a loved one that's like maybe like a relationship type deal.
Yeah.
Like a friend's important. Don't get me wrong, and we're all going to deal with those as they come. It's I just again feel like I'm a little lucky in the sense that this year, even after losing my friend, it might I don't feel like it's going to hurt me as bad. But you never know because like anything could happen. Any one little reminder of someone can easily trigger some kind of. And I know trigger just gets such a bad connotation anymore, but literally something so small can just cause emotions to pour out. And I'll tell you something. This could be classified as silly, and I am going to kind of take a sillier tone with it, but it was sad, and it'll be the last thing I bring up really for right now. Uh, about 2 years after mom passed away, I was just in my grandmother's kitchen, and she had a thing of macaroni salad, or it was, whatever. That one particularly doesn't matter. But I was eating some of the of this salad of this macaroni salad, and I remember just looking down and looking at it, and the thought just came in my head. Oh man, that sucks. I'm never going to have any of my mom's macaroni salad again. And I just
Mm.
started bawling. I felt like I just turned the faucet on in my ear ducts. Or my ear ducts, good grief. My eye ducts or whatever. Like I said, I was trying to be comedic with it. Might as well mess up when I can.
Right.
But yeah, I was just eating, and all of a sudden, remembered she used to make some pretty good stuff, and she would make me, in particular, my own because they would always put like little celeries and tomatoes and whatnot that I didn't care for. She at one point started just making it with just the the macaroni noodles and some mayonnaise, and I thought that was good enough. To was like, I'm going to eat this, and I could eat it cold, so I felt like I was participating, I guess. But
Right.
I just remembered going through that, and it was just yeah, it was heartbreaking at the time. But I look back on that part now, I'm just like macaroni salad.
Right.
But it's
Well,
one of those
see,
memories, man. It's part of grief.
I'll see, like, years ago, I mean, uh, I had a best friend when I met him when I was 13 years old. Um, he was already at 10 years older than me, but he was just this older dude that was really cool, and we'd play video games, and we ended up being, best friends, hung out every day.
Hmm.
Um, and then when I turned 23, he was in an accident.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and he didn't make it through it. And his son got left behind and stuff like that. And that was a really hard time. Not having that best friend that you're used to seeing and talking to every day.
right.
Not being around, and I was in a bad spot with it mentally. Um, but what happened to me after that, it helped me work with people that have went through it. Um, weeks later, still thinking about it, and then one night I had it's crazy. I had this dream that I was walking through Walmart, and here he come, in Walmart, and I stopped him. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? You died. You're not here no more. And in my dream, he looked at me. He said, no, he said, as long as you remember all the good stuff, I ain't ever going anywhere. And that really, I woke up the next morning, and dude, I tell you that made me feel a huge weight off of my chest.
Yeah.
Like he was a huge wrestling fan, and he was a big Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. So every
What?
time, yeah, yeah, up until that, what, yeah, up until that dream, if I was watching wrestling and Stone Cold's music hit, it would just kill me. Um, but after that, every time I would hear that glass shatter or whatever, I would think about him strutting around in his Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt, or flipping people off just for the hell of it. And it was a way of turning memories into a positive thing. So that's always been. Anytime I deal with anybody that's lost someone close to them, that's the that's the story I tell them. I tell them about him passing away, and that dream of him telling me, "Well, I'm not really gone as long as you remember the good stuff."
Right.
Uh, so that's something I always tell people when they're dealing with the loss of anybody that's a loved one.
Give me one. Give me one bird. I know it's important here. It adds to the Thank you. There you go.
Yeah,
There you
well,
go.
you got to do it like that, then. Yeah,
Oh yeah, if you're going to do it full out. I get you. I get you.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
and throw a beer back while you're at it.
oh hell yeah, let me tell you. Yeah.
Right.
And stuff like this is good, Joking and laughing around obviously is good things. It's good positive things. It's what gets you to be able to get through some of the hardest, darkest days, dealing with grief, dealing with different family dynamics. Like I said, like all these things I mentioned that people worry about the holidays, not only just holiday things, they're just things people deal with in general. It's just amplified because of the holidays. And I really wanted to think of some way how we can help, how you and I can help. And yeah, we do this podcast, and we have some silly podcasts. Don't get me wrong. We have we
Oh
have
yeah.
we have a great time. We love to mess around and whatnot. But I wanted to think of some particular way to give back in some way, to help. And I think I thought of it. I think I thought of the way to. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. It got really dark.
At least I can hear you. Why did your screen go dark? Check your phone real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just dark. Yeah.
What? Hey!
Oh.
Who
Uh,
turned out the lights?
what's going on here? It's really dark in here.
Hey,
I don't like this.
I don't like it either. Hello? J-Bomb? Jack?
Surprise, mother. Hey, Keith, how you doing?
I've been better. How'd you even manage this? I'm stayed away from you.
So, let me get this straight. You do this podcast now, and you edit out all the bad words.
Well, yeah, we're trying to hit more people and everything,
That's
so
great.
we're just trying
So,
to.
might as well give you some work to do then. You shithead mother.
Oh, you never change.
Son of-
Every time we try to do well, you're doing worse. Quit.
I
Stop.
just don't know what all kinds of words I can call you. Dipshit.
I hate you, little Jackie. Do you really think you're going to get away with this?
Of course I'm gonna get away with it. I always get away with it. Yeah, Jack ain't gonna do nothing. It's my show now. I run this podcast. You just do whatever the hell I tell you. You understand? It's my show. I'm saving the planet now. Yeah, but Jack don't know. He's just a dick, just like you. Wait a minute. He's behind me, isn't he?
Get him, Jack. Get him. Get him. Yeah. Grab him by the face. Get him. Throw him. Throw him. Yeah! We're gone for like 3 years. And he's got that much time to do something like that to us?
The thing is that it's almost like Joe Hendry. you know.
But we've been saying his name for weeks now.
I guess he's been plotting and planning.
Well, if I have to give him one thing, it wasn't that bad. It
I'm
wasn't
sure
that bad
this
of a
won't be
plan.
the last time we'll see him.
I hope so. Well, you need, even though that sucked for us, you need stuff
Right? I
like
mean, I was basically a hostage.
you really were. Are you okay, by the way?
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
actually a very important question for this episode. Are you okay?
I think he clocked me on the head with something, but I'm okay.
All right, good. As long as you get that taken care of, I'm sure
I'm
he's taken care of right now.
I'm gonna make sure to feed him to a shark.
Very good. Way to think outside the box. I like it.
Like a Bond villain. Yeah.
I like it. So I think after that, and after our hostage situation, which in context with this episode might not be the best, but hey, you know,
You get what you get with us.
saving the planet one hostage situation at a time. Ugh. Thank you all.
Using stuffed bombs.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. This was a very important episode. All silliness aside at the end there, just a huge thank you. With this episode, I'm not going to promote anything that we do normally. There's no Save the After Show. There's no STPP Uncensored. This maybe there should be, but I wouldn't. I'm not going to charge or anything. I have to do what I have to do when it comes to censoring and stuff. That's why I tried to contain myself with the cussing as much as I possibly could, and I think we did a relatively good job. But there are a couple things,
It's just always bad if we have to contain the cussing having him on.
That's true. That's true. That segment might have to be segmented.
A little bit.
But that's future. That's future Keith's problem, not mine right now.
Right?
No STA, nothing, anything like that. The only thing that I'm going to promote is that if you need help, and you're in need of serious help, don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. We'll put up the picture right now, just right below my face and right below the mic here. It's what I've been putting at the end and the beginning of most of the episodes here recently of OMO and STPP. It's the 988 helpline. There's always someone to talk. No matter where you are, what kind of situation you're in, there's always someone there to talk to reach out to. And I promise you this, it is 100% okay to do it. There's no repercussions. There's nothing bad. It's literally just someone that can help you and get you the resources where you need to go and do what you need to do to help yourself in the time of need. So please call 988 if you need help, or check out the 988 website. Do that, and because of this episode's particular subject matter and everything, I am going to set up a link for a Facebook donation post page that was going to donate to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I'm going to set the goal to just $100. Any bit helps, any amount helps. It'll be up there whenever this episode gets on. As soon as you see it, as soon as you hear it, the donation page will be up. And it is just to help people that might be in need and to help the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I participated in one of their walks back in 2023 whenever I felt like I was finally starting to see somewhat out of the dark. It finally felt like, some of the heavy darkness had lifted. I still had some way to go. I still had some way to go, and especially now with my ADHD stuff, I feel way better than even then. But in comparison to how it was right after Mom passed, that felt very uplifting and very helpful to walk in and be a part of. So I definitely want to give back how I can, and I think the best way we can do it is to just help people donate, help share that, and help people know that you are not alone. And I guess that just leads me to my advice for this week, which has been the whole point of this episode. It's been the whole point of everything that we've talked about today. If you need help, reach out. You do not need to do life alone. There's always someone there. You know, at the end of the show, I always say, I love your faces. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I don't know you personally, but I want to give you some sort of, feeling of, hey, someone actually loves me. I feel like I'm here, I'm needed in some way, or that someone wants me here or something. I love your faces is not some just kind of funny thing I say because it sounds really cool. It's literally what I mean. I love anybody that's around to help or whatnot, and we're all human. We're all going to get mad. We are going to say people that we hate, people that we don't, but in general, I just love people, and I love your faces, and I love the support that you give us and the support you give to others. That's what we should be here for, man, to support one another, not to put each other down. And I really hope that this episode in particular helped even just one person out there reach someone that might have needed it more than they might know. And I just hope that we could help in our own way, in our own goofy sort of, Jack and Keith Save the Planet podcast type way. We could help and make this world a little less.
Perfect word for it.
All right, my friend. I think that's works perfectly this week. That's works. I can't talk now. Apparently I'm talked out. Like I said, no after show this week. Not appropriate for one. So this is what you get, and I really hope you got something good out of it. We'll be here back next week once again for back to our own zany, wacky J-Bomb and Keith type ways. So until then, J-Bomb, go ahead and take us out. And Jack, once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for putting up with me for everything before. Yeah, I know I'm getting sappy, but before the show came back and dealing with like 2.5 years of me dealing with my stuff. And I'm so glad to be back. And I'm so glad to have a fire burn now more than ever to make this podcast happen, make things happen to where we can help people feel better or just entertain them for a little bit, even if they may not like it, even if they critique, anything to make us better will just make us help more people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So thank you.
And
Genuinely.
honestly, I gotta say thank you too, because for years you put up with me being most of the time a drunken belligerent.
I mean, I was kind of right there with you, to be fair. Maybe not to the same extent, but I was right there with you. So
yeah, we've done some growing up.
We have. I think so. I think we're finally seeing a change in us.
Right. Just
All right, take us out.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. I hope this episode was helpful to anybody that needs it. And a little out of our comfort zone to do serious episodes, even though we have had some before. But hopefully this reaches people that needs it. But anyway, we'll be back next week with our crazy, zany, goofy that we always have. But in the meantime, have a great week. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. And as always, stay metal.
From there, see what else this fine, fun night might do. But thanks. I mean,
Hey,
I think I definitely needed this after what happened last week.
it was good. I feel like it'll help.
Absolutely. All right,
Yeah.
man.
All right, brother.
Talk to you throughout the week.
Yes, sir.
I also still got to do some shorts for this week's episode that just came out. So
Cool.
to get things back to a more funny bit,
make things a little tippy.
Little Tippy for sure. Let's go, Tippy. Tippy!
All right.
You know, we just introduced Lowell Jackie, and now we have Tippy coming up. I love where
Yep.
we're going.
I like it. Just continuing to grow, brother.
Let's go. I'll talk to you later, man. Have a good night.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Later.
Oh, let me try that again without the can showing. I had to move the can last minute.